Well, I think the areas of common ground are twofold. One is there's kind of a false premise out there that says, well, we don't need more revenue somehow, that's an argument that's out among GOP circles. And I think Mitt Romney debunked that largely. President Obama created a straw man argument in the last debate saying, you believe there's no need for more revenues. Romney said, no, Mr. President, that's not correct. I think the revenues need to come through growth. And we can have, I think, a very robust discussion about how you create a growth agenda. Senator Wyden and others have been voices in the past on the Democratic side that have articulated a strong growth agenda, and I think that there's a commonality there. The other component, though, where there is a great deal of common ground is the high level of dissatisfaction with the current tax code. There's nobody, there is no voice today that is out defending the status quo as it relates to the current tax code. So if you take that attitude and you look now at what the Ways and Means Committee has done for the past 18 months, Dave Camp gabbled together a series of meetings as chairman of the committee, hearings, and really a wide-ranging discussion. And if you were to distill down into a single word the theme of those hearings, it was the theme that Allison just mentioned a couple of minutes ago, and that is competitiveness. How do you create the United States, within the United States, as the most competitive tax jurisdiction in the world? What does it look like? How do you emulate it? You know, Sarah, in her opening remarks, was making an allusion, essentially, to this idea. She didn't speak to it explicitly, but as companies, worldwide American companies, are in a position to pursue 95% of the world's consumers who are outside of the United States, there's a recognition that the U.S. tax code should be moving to put them on a platform to do that, to compete effectively. So I think the area of common ground is a recognition, two things. Number one, you need more revenue, and if the Democrats are open to how that revenue that revenue comes about, great. You know, my view has always been, look, if you can get the money that satisfies these obligations, that's an area of common ground, and let's move forward on that basis. And I'm glad to hear that Allison is not defending just party dogma. The dogma is coming from people like Patty Murray, who are saying, you know, let's go over the fiscal cliff so for the sake of raising taxes. That's an absurd argument, actually, and I'm glad to hear Allison is not defending that. The other thing, though, is this level of dissatisfaction, this level of a tax code that literally we have an army of people in the United States that have to be hired in order to comply with our own tax code. Some estimates say we have 1.2 million people who are in the compliance side. We have 1.4 million people, roughly, who are under arms in the United States. So it's not an overstatement to say that we need an army to comply with our own rules. Those two areas, the need for revenues and the need for simplicity, I think is a common ground upon which you can really begin to negotiate.